You wouldn't last a single day in modern combat. Civilian comfort has made us soft, and what soldiers deal with daily would shock you to your core. Be honest, would you accept a $10 million cash prize to be in a modern war combat? Let me know below. Let us talk about combat rations, the stuff that would have you running back to your couch faster than you can say DoorDash. First off, forget everything you've seen in movies about hot meals and coffee breaks. For soldiers in the field, meals come in brown plastic bags called MREs, meals ready to eat, though troops call them meals rejected by everyone. Each MRE contains about 1,200 calories of food that's designed to last years on a shelf. The main courses have names like beef ravioli or chicken chunks, but taste like cardboard soaked in salt. Everything is pre-cooked, vacuum sealed, and engineered for one purpose: keeping you alive, not happy. Here's a terrifying fact. MREs are designed to constipate you. The military literally engineered food that slows your digestive system, because using the bathroom in a combat zone is dangerous. Soldiers joke that 3 MREs in a row will shut you down for a week. Imagine eating food specifically designed to make you not go to the bathroom. Water is rationed strictly. In desert environments, soldiers need 5 to 7 gallons per day just to avoid dehydration, but supply lines can't always deliver that much. You'll drink water that tastes like plastic from bottles that have been sitting in 120-degree heat, the ice-cold water fantasy. Gone. Everything you drink is lukewarm at best, and you're grateful for it. The worst part? You can't just grab a snack when you're hungry. Meal times are scheduled around mission requirements. Sometimes you'll go 18 to 20 hours between meals because the tactical situation doesn't allow for eating. That protein bar in your pocket might be your only food for an entire day. By now, your stomach is probably turning, which brings us perfectly to the next combat horror: going to the bathroom in a war zone. For soldiers in forward positions, using the bathroom means digging a hole called a cat hole, doing your business and burying it. No privacy, no toilet paper unless you brought it, and definitely no flushing. In base camps, you might encounter something called a burn barrel, basically an outhouse where human waste is collected in barrels, doused with diesel fuel, and set on fire. The job of burning these barrels fell to lower-ranking soldiers who would stir the burning mixture with metal poles. The smell and toxic fumes were so bad that many developed respiratory problems. Studies have shown that soldiers exposed to burn pit smoke have significantly higher rates of cancer and lung disease years later. In urban combat zones, bathroom breaks mean finding a partially destroyed building, hoping it hasn't been booby-trapped, and being vulnerable for those critical minutes. Snipers know soldiers eventually have to relieve themselves. It's a predictable pattern they exploit. Want to take a shower? In combat zones, if you're lucky, you might get a 2-minute shower once a week, using water trucked in from miles away. Most of the time, you'll go weeks using only baby wipes to clean yourself. The smell of unwashed bodies, gun oil, and diesel fuel becomes your new normal. Forget those romantic notions of being a heroic soldier coming home to parades. In modern combat, most people work backbreaking missions from pre-dawn to past midnight. With barely enough sleep to function, repeat until deployment ends or you break. A typical infantry soldier carries 80 to 120 pounds of gear: body armor, ammunition, weapons, water, medical supplies, communications equipment, and more. That's like doing a marathon while wearing a teenager on your back. In Afghanistan, soldiers regularly patrolled for 8 to 12 hours in mountainous terrain at high altitude carrying this load. Records from Iraq and Afghanistan show that the average combat soldier walked 12 to 15 miles per day in full gear, in temperatures exceeding 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Modern soldiers don't need gym memberships, they just need to survive Tuesday. The physical toll is immediate and brutal. Stress fractures, knee damage, back injuries, and joint problems plague soldiers in their early 20s. A study found that over 70% of infantry soldiers experience chronic pain during deployment. Sleep deprivation is weaponized against you. In combat zones, soldiers average 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night, and that's interrupted by guard duty, incoming fire, or mission requirements. After 3 weeks of this, you're operating in a semi-conscious fog where reaction times slow and judgment deteriorates. Want to relax after a hard day? There is no relaxing. When not on patrol or mission, you're pulling guard duty, cleaning weapons, maintaining equipment, or preparing for the next operation. Downtime doesn't exist, only different types of working time. Even in safe base areas, the constant threat of attack means you're never truly off duty. Rockets and mortars can strike without warning. That alarm that sounds at 2 a.m. isn't a drill, it's incoming fire, and you have 30 seconds to get to a bunker. Your brain never leaves combat mode. With such physically demanding work and constant stress, your body and mind wear out quickly. Combat injuries are everywhere. Medical care is limited to what can fit in a backpack, and what passes for battlefield medicine would shock civilians. Modern battlefield medicine has improved survival rates dramatically, but getting wounded in combat is still a terrifying experience. A simple injury that seems minor can become life-threatening if evacuation is delayed by enemy fire or bad weather. Got shot. The soldier next to you will jam gauze into the wound, inject you with morphine, and apply a tourniquet so tight it crushes tissue. Combat medics have minutes to stop bleeding before you die. There's no gentle bedside manner, just aggressive intervention to keep blood inside your body. Traumatic injuries are horrific. IEDs, improvised explosive devices, cause catastrophic damage. Lost limbs, severe burns, traumatic brain injuries. The survival rate for these injuries has improved, but surviving means living with life-changing disabilities. Over 1,600 U.S. service members lost limbs in Iraq and Afghanistan. Combat medicine happens in impossible conditions, under fire, in extreme heat or cold, with limited supplies, while wearing body armor that restricts movement. Medics make life or death decisions in seconds with incomplete information. The mental toll is even worse. About 20% of veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan have PTSD. Combat fundamentally changes. How your brain processes fear and threat, loud noises, crowds, or simply being startled can trigger intense panic responses that last for years. Traumatic brain injury from explosions affects thousands of soldiers. Even if you're not directly hit, the pressure wave from nearby blasts causes microscopic brain damage. Soldiers exposed to multiple blasts suffer memory problems, personality changes, and cognitive difficulties that may never fully heal. Moral injury, the psychological damage from actions that violate your ethical code, haunts many veterans, making split-second life or death decisions, witnessing civilians caught in combat. Or losing friends creates psychological wounds that don't heal with time. Even the treatments available are limited. Combat medics carry powerful painkillers and antibiotics, but serious injuries require evacuation to field hospitals that might be hours away. In that time, you're fighting to stay alive. If you somehow survived all these physical and psychological challenges, your troubles are far from over. Life in a combat zone finds plenty of other ways to make each day a test of survival. The rules of war sound clear on paper, but become murky in reality. Rules of engagement dictate when you can fire your weapon. But split-second decisions in chaotic situations mean soldiers constantly worry about making fatal mistakes, either failing to shoot when necessary or shooting when they shouldn't. The punishment for errors can be severe. Soldiers face court-martial for violations, ranging from losing equipment to causing civilian casualties, even if those decisions were made under extreme stress with incomplete information. Unlike medieval times where enemies were clear, modern combat often involves fighting enemies who blend with civilian populations. That person approaching your checkpoint might be an innocent civilian, or they might be a suicide bomber. You have seconds to decide, and either choice might be wrong. The legal burden follows you home. Soldiers involved in controversial incidents can face investigations, trials, and imprisonment years after the events. The stress of potential legal consequences adds another layer of psychological pressure to an already impossible situation. For those who make serious mistakes, military prison isn't like civilian jail. The United States disciplinary barracks houses soldiers convicted of crimes ranging from desertion to murder. Conditions are harsh, and the stigma follows you forever, losing rank, benefits, and any pride you had in your service. Meanwhile, enemies face no such restrictions. Insurgents and terrorists don't follow the Geneva Conventions. They use human shields, attack medical facilities, and execute prisoners. You have to fight by strict rules against opponents who ignore all rules. Modern warfare isn't glorious battles with clear objectives. It's counterinsurgency, urban combat, and asymmetric warfare where enemies hide among civilians and victory is measured in tiny temporary gains. Let's talk about modern combat realities. Unlike movies where heroes charge across fields, real combat means spending hours watching an empty street through a rifle scope. Knowing any movement could trigger an ambush. IEDs are the signature weapon of modern warfare. These homemade bombs can be hidden anywhere, buried in roads, inside trash piles, even in animal carcasses. They're responsible for about 60% of American casualties in Iraq and Afghanistan. Every step you take might be your last. Detecting IEDs requires constant vigilance. Soldiers scan for disturbed earth, suspicious objects, or command wires. But insurgents constantly adapt their tactics. Some IEDs are so well hidden that even trained dogs and metal detectors miss them. When an IED detonates near your vehicle, the blast is catastrophic. The armored vehicles that protect soldiers from small arms fire can become ovens when hit. Soldiers trapped inside burning vehicles face horrific choices: burn alive or escape into enemy fire. Ambushes are designed to maximize casualties. Insurgents study patrol patterns, identify vulnerable points, and coordinate attacks from multiple directions. When the ambush is triggered, soldiers have seconds to react, while under fire from unseen enemies. Close quarters urban combat is a nightmare. Clearing buildings room by room means exposing yourself to enemy fire at every corner, doorway, and window. Booby traps, hidden fighters, and civilians add layers of danger to every movement. Civilians caught in combat zones face impossible situations. They re-threatened by insurgents if they help coalition forces, and endangered by military operations if they do evacuate. Soldiers witnessed horrific scenes involving women and children that haunt them forever. Firefights aren't dramatic movie scenes with heroes diving behind cover. They're confusion, chaos, and terror. The noise is deafening. Visibility is obscured by smoke and dust, and determining friend from foe is nearly impossible. Most soldiers never see the enemy they're shooting at. The row requires positive identification before firing, but insurgents don't wear uniforms. Is that person holding a phone, calling his family, or triggering an IED? Make the wrong call, and you either die or kill an innocent person. Vehicle patrols mean driving routes where every pile of trash, dead animal, or abandoned car might explode. Drivers watch for any sign of disturbance while maintaining speed. Slow down too much, and you an easy target. Go too fast, and you might miss the threat. Even in armored vehicles, you're vulnerable. RPGs, rocket-propelled grenades, can penetrate armor, and shaped charges can turn vehicles into death traps. The sound of metal scraping metal means incoming fire, and you have milliseconds to react. If somehow you manage to avoid IEDs, survived fights, and didn't break mentally from the constant stress, you'd still have to endure the general misery of everyday deployment life. The environment hits you immediately. In Iraq and Afghanistan, summer temperatures exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Body armor traps heat against your torso, creating a greenhouse effect. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke are constant threats. Soldiers drink water constantly, but still sweat through their uniforms in minutes. Dust is everywhere. Fine, talcum powder-like dust penetrates every seal, coating your skin, clogging weapons, and irritating your lungs. After missions, you'll cough up mud for hours. Many soldiers develop respiratory problems from breathing this dust for months. In winter, the same desert that baked you at 120 degrees drops to freezing at night. Your gear is designed for one temperature range, never both. Soldiers alternate between heat exhaustion during the day and hypothermia at night. The smell is overwhelming. Forward operating bases reek of diesel fuel, burning trash, human waste from burn barrels, and unwashed bodies. The combination creates an odor so strong it penetrates everything. Months after returning home, your gear still smells like deployment. Living conditions are primitive. Many soldiers sleep in plywood buildings called chews, containerized housing units. No climate control, no privacy, and walls so thin you hear everything. 8 soldiers might share a space the size of a walk-in closet. Insects are relentless. Camel spiders the size of your hand, scorpions in your boots, and flies that swarm any exposed food. Soldiers develop neurotic habits of checking everything before touching it. Communication with home is limited and monitored. Phone calls depend on satellite connections that drop constantly. Internet is slow when it works at all. Letters take weeks to arrive. The isolation from loved ones adds to the psychological strain. privacy doesn't exist. You eat, sleep, shower, and use the bathroom in communal facilities with dozens of other soldiers. Personal space is measured in inches. Tensions run high when people are forced into close quarters under stress for months. Entertainment options are minimal. In rare downtime, soldiers watch pirated movies on laptops, lift weights in makeshift gyms, or simply sleep. The boredom between moments of terror is its own form of torture. The cultural and language barriers are insurmountable without interpreters. Local languages, customs, and gestures are completely foreign. You're constantly worried about unknowingly offending someone or missing critical information that could save lives. Knowledge gaps are filled by rumors and speculation. Is that compound a weapons cache or a family home? Is the local police chief trustworthy or working with insurgents? Incomplete intelligence means making critical decisions with partial information. Communication delays are dangerous. Calling for air support, medical evacuation, or reinforcements requires working through radio networks that might be jammed or overloaded. Minutes delay can mean the difference between survival and death. Time distorts in combat zones. Days blur together in endless repetition, but individual moments of terror stretch into eternity. A 6-month deployment feels like years, and readjusting to normal life afterward seems impossible. By this point in our journey through modern combat horrors, you'd be desperately searching for a way back to your comfortable civilian life with its safety, privacy, clean water, and the luxury of not wondering if today is the day you die. The past may seem terrible in history books, but modern combat is its own special kind of hell that few civilians could endure even for a day. The soldiers who volunteer for this sacrifice more than most people can imagine, facing dangers that would break the average person in hours. So next time you think your life is hard because your Wi-Fi is slow or your coffee is onto the right temperature, remember, somewhere right now, soldiers are enduring conditions that would destroy most of us before breakfast. They do it, so we don't have to. That SYU would unlast 24 hours in modern combat, and why we should be grateful for those who do. If you want to see more stories like this that show the real side of military life most people never hear about, make sure you're following along. There's plenty more coming your way.